that I've experienced on a personal level tells me that if I didn't have alcohol in my life or you didn't have alcohol in your life, we'd be better off. There's way more upside than downside. Welcome back to the show. Today, I'm gonna burst everybody's bubble when it comes to alcohol, even though I don't want to admit it myself sometimes, but alcohol, it's just not good for you. It's really not good for your brain. In the episode I did a few weeks ago, it's not even good for weight loss. So why do people do it? It's one of those things that is getting to be more and more taboo. I think a lot of people are just accepting the fact that you're better off without alcohol. So let's get into it. So let's just talk about the actual effects of it on your brain. So this is something that was staggering. That came across my attention as I was doing research for this. Do you know that heavy drinking, can shrink your brain up to 1.6% every single year? So if you're continuing to do this, I don't even know how much of your brain is going to be left, if you're constantly drinking, more than moderation or, just having drinks at all. I mean, so many people just overdo it. I mean, it's something that, is becoming more and more of an issue, right? Especially just amongst, those that are in our age category, right? So you can guess what that is in the 40s. I think a lot of people have really come to the conclusion that, drinking isn't for them. And yeah, good for them. I think I'm coming to that same conclusion. I think that the days of, enjoying beverages, right? Adult beverages, being able to come in and have a few drinks after work to relieve a little bit of stress, it's absolutely becoming more and more detrimental, right? It's messing up your brain, and it's going to mess up your brain in ways that you're going to severely regret when you get older, right? Because it really just you're essentially drinking poison. It's a neurotoxin, right? Your liver has to get, on overtime to clean this up. And guess what? I mean, in the end, what is the one question that people ask? And I know this because when I went to my the neurologist for my dad, they asked him, were you a drinker? Did you consume alcohol? How much alcohol did you consume? Why are they doing that if, they're not tying this to a lot of potential diseases, not only of the brain, but we're going to focus on that, but, just overall health as well. But let's just think about the day-to-day stuff on how unproductive drinking is. Okay. And I speak from experience. I really do. I'm not innocent in this. I'm not some, person that says, oh my gosh, you shouldn't have a drink. But the bottom line is that it does cause so many issues in people's lives. It just does, especially if you want to be productive. I mean, I don't know if, who deemed or what to say that alcohol was just, a really good thing to do after work to relieve some stress, to have some, social fun, with people. But how many bad decisions are made while drinking alcohol, right? It impairs your judgment. You shouldn't be driving. Overall, when you wake up the next day, you're just sluggish. You don't feel good. And how long does it take for you to get back on it? So if you recall in the last episode I did about alcohol and weight loss, we talked about how your metabolism doesn't work. It's all empty calories. You're consuming something that's, again, basically poison that your body has to clean up. So think about what the long-term effects are if you continue to consume alcohol on a regular basis, if you're a heavy drinker, and what it actually does to your brain. So if it's 1.6% brain shrinkage, right, year after year, then think about what it does to your memory. How many people do you know personally? And you may be one of these people, right? That if they drink for a long period of time, they become really forgetful. They just forget stuff. And, what do you think that is? That's your brain cells, right? That are being damaged. So it's really affecting the parts of your brain that are going to give you, cognitive function, right? Cognitively, right? Whether you have memory loss or maybe your brain doesn't work as well as it used to. I don't know how many people tell me that. But the crazy thing about it is that if you talk to people who say, "Hey, I just stopped drinking for whatever reason," right? Whatever reason, maybe they just wanted to take a hiatus, they wanted to take a break. I actually quit drinking for 13 months when I was really serious about wanting to lose all of that weight, and I successfully lost 83 pounds. But the things that I didn't talk about is how much better my mind was functioning, how much better my physical body was functioning, right? It wasn't just like a direct correlation on the weight loss, although that had a lot to do with it. But think about like how much better you are, at the normal day to day tasks. I mean, anybody who drinks, right? When they first start drinking, what happens? They get sick. That should be a huge indication, right? That this is something that the body isn't naturally yearning for. So the more and more you drink, right? I don't know how many times when you were younger, it's like, man, that person can drink somebody under the table. I don't think that's something to be proud of, right? Because all that really means is that you built up this massive tolerance, for alcohol. So think about this. If you're drinking 3 drinks, okay, your serotonin levels, true statistic, drop by 20%. Okay. That's a big deal, right? So what does that mean? That's going to mean that, you can go into mood swings, or better yet, you're not going to be able to sleep well. So if you're not sleeping well, I mean, how many of you have had some drinks and you go to sleep and you wake up with your heart beating out of your chest, right? Because, your metabolism's revving and you just don't get very good sleep. And you're going through this vicious cycle of doing this over and over and over again. And what ends up happening, right, is that you continue to just do more damage to your overall health because you're not sleeping well, you're not getting REM sleep, you're tanking your mood, it causes depression, it causes anxiety. I mean, there's study after study that talks about how bad alcohol is. Not to mention, have you ever listened to any of these people that are highly successful? How many of them are saying, don't drink? I gave up drinking. I'm not as productive. I'm not as creative. I'm not just functioning like I should. Optimal performance, whatever it is for you, it's just no good. It really isn't. I mean, gosh, if it was as simple as just being able to have a drink every once in a while, enjoy a glass of wine. But man, all the stories that I hear, and man, I've personally gone through this. It's like it always just starts with that. And then after a while, it just doesn't do it for you, right? So you want to do more. And then you want to do more, and you want to do more, right? So there's no more moderation. That just really goes out the window. And I would bet money that there's probably a percentage of people that actually can do that. They have a glass of wine every once in a while. It's no big deal, or, special occasions. But most people that you talk to will tell you that after a period of time, right, they feel like crap. And it's not just like in the near term, but it's the long term. And that's something that, if you study this and look at it, and if you're wanting to just really think long and hard about what you want to accomplish and how you want to stay motivated, drinking alcohol on a regular basis is not going to get it done for you. It's not just an opinion. It's not just one person's opinion. There's so many people coming out talking about how alcohol is just so detrimental. And yes, it's detrimental to your brain. It's detrimental to your physical health, but it's also detrimental to relationships. How many relationships go down south, right? And just totally blow up because of alcohol, right? People do dumb stuff. Their judgment is impaired. They say things that they don't mean, right? And ultimately, it's just overall, I mean, there's so many things. I like to look at things objectively. I really do. I'm a data-driven person. Yes, I'm a sales guy at heart. I love the emotional part of it, but you got to look at the data. And everything that I'm reading, everything that I've experienced on a personal level tells me that if I didn't have alcohol in my life, or you didn't have alcohol in your life, you'd be better off. There's way more upside than downside. Do your research, do your homework. But I bet you if you dig down deep especially if you've been drinking for a while, you know what I'm saying is true. If you know someone who needs to hear this or see this episode, share it with them. I'm always interested in what you have to say about this subject matter. Either side of the coin, whatever. You know, if you're against drinking, for drinking, unopinionated, leave a comment. Let's start a conversation. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. I always encourage you to subscribe. And if you have a moment, rate the show. You can find us on YouTube at Hey Charles Biz. We're Hey Charles on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Hey Charles 77 on Instagram and TikTok, and Charles Ernst on LinkedIn. See you next time.